Did you know that items you come in contact with every day could be the catalyst for annoying and sometimes painful allergic skin reactions? But what should we be on the lookout for when it comes to these hidden skin allergies? Fear not, dermatologist extraordinaire Dr. Doris Day is here with the list of the top 7 skin allergy triggers. Dr. Day, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So I guess the top one that we need to talk about is nickel. You say it's hidden in all kinds of things and can cause us all sorts of problems.
Nickel is everywhere, and sometimes when patients come in or when men come in and they have a little rash on the front of their thigh, I tell them they have to take the change out of their pocket, because it could be the keys or the change in their pocket that's actually going through their pants and rubbing against their thigh, or it could be the button if you have a snap on your jeans, or the metal buttons that are lined with nickel in your jeans. So it can be everywhere and not always on areas that are just exposed or that come into contact with your hands.
And how often do you see people suffering from nickel allergies?
I see patients with nickel allergies every day, and we actually do patch testing that can test for a whole host of allergies, and nickel often comes out on the top of that.
And I understand you're going to demonstrate to us a little nickel test that anyone can do at home. Is that right?
Right. There are nickel testing kits. So you just take a drop of solution A, they make it very simple, and a drop of solution B, you just put it on the Q-tip. And then we'll take our gold standard of nickel, which is nickel, and then rub it against it for 15 seconds, and you can see it changes color. So it takes about 15 seconds, and it turns this pink or purplish color. And that's a sign that there's a nickel allergy. So you can do the same thing against your keys, or your cell phone, or even costume jewelry, or anything that you suspect might be causing your rash, and it will help you discern if that has nickel in it.
Are a lot of cell phones made with nickel?
Less and less, but there are certain types of cell phones that are known to have nickel, and you'll see the rash on the side of the face, or even sometimes kids will start playing with their parents' cell phone. They may be too young to even be on the phone, but they just hang on and play with their parents' phone, and you may see a rash on the side of the face. And sometimes these rashes look a little different. They don't always look red and with some scale or peeling. Sometimes they can, on the face, it can even look like acne. So I have patients coming in and they think that they have a rash from a breakout, but it's actually an allergic reaction either to something that may have nickel or even to their own shampoo. So the bumps on the forehead are not always going to be breakouts. We have to be a little bit of a medical detective sometimes, and that's a fun part of my job.
That does sound like fun, but you say that also with children you should be aware that if you have a relative or someone who comes over with lots of costume jewelry on, that child could get an allergic reaction to the nickel in the jewelry. Is that right?
Absolutely. Sometimes I have parents who come and say, you know, I hold my kid all the time and they're fine, but when we go to relatives and the kids get passed around from one relative to another and everybody wants a hug and a kiss, sometimes those relatives have jewelry that contain nickel, and that rubbing against the kid's face or exposed body area over the course of the day can trigger, can cause that nickel allergy. If they're allergic, it can bring out that reaction, and then you may see the rash later. And it can take hours to sometimes even days for that rash to show.
Are there other elements in costume jewelry that we should be careful of, or is it mainly just the nickel?
It's typically just nickel, and then you just have to start them on platinum jewelry early.
That's right. I guess you just have to start buying the real thing. Yeah. Now, another big culprit, you say, is perfume.
Right.
Tell us about that.
You can wear perfume all winter and not have a reaction, but sometimes there's a plant sun reaction that's called a phytophoto, so plant sun. And when you go out in the sun, some elements of that perfume that may contain plant extracts or other things may then react with the sun, and you may get a rash in those areas. So if you have a rash on the side of the neck, which I see commonly, it could be the perfume, but not just the perfume itself, but it's perfume in relation to the sun exposure.
So are there certain types of perfumes that you can wear regardless of the sun exposure and they won't do this?
Most perfumes, but if you have a reaction, it's very hard to tell, but the ones that have the floral scents are going to be higher risk that way. And those are the ones we like to wear in the summer months.
Yes, so maybe stick to the sandalwood if you think you have a little bit of a reaction. Now, of course, it's that time of year when people start turning to fruit, tropical fruit. Mango is a popular one, but you say be careful. Mango has some properties that can give us a rash.
Right. There are certain reactions that we know to expect in the summertime. Poison ivy is one. I've already seen a few poison ivy reactions. People are out there eager to garden because we're all kind of cabin crazy or stir crazy from being indoors all winter. But there's also a fruit, mango, the skin of mango has an ingredient that actually cross-reacts. So it has a similar protein that's in poison ivy, even though they're two different compounds. And so people who are allergic to poison ivy may also react to the skin of mango. So when someone comes in and they have a rash around the mouth, I can ask them, have you been eating mango and peeling it or biting into it or touching the skin, and then sometimes they touch around the mouth and you can see a rash. So that sometimes that gives a clue.
I can tell you that personally happened to me. The Cuban in me loves to just suck the mango right up, and I got a big rash all over, so I know exactly what you're talking about.
So you just have to have someone else peel it for you first, and then you can have a great time, because I know that is fun.
And quickly, we have 2 more food items you say people that drink Bloody Marys should be aware of.
Right, if you have the Bloody Mary, that's fine, but take the celery out first, because I see a line on the side of the face. Sometimes celery, especially if it's a little bit older, contain an ingredient called sorolin that when it touches the skin, so it's not from ingesting it, but it's from touching the skin, can then create a very strong sunburn reaction. So I see a strong sunburn.
Celery, who knew? And lemon is another one.
So I always know when people have had coronas on the beach, they squeeze the lemon and then they get a rash in the finger web. So it's lots of little blisters in the finger web, and that's again a strong sunburn reaction. So just wash your hands after you squeeze the lemon.
Dr. Day, thank you so much. Fabulous tips. And for all things allergy, head to the On Call Allergy Center on the health page at abcnews.com.